What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings and giving you our season preview, including record predictions for the 2021 NFL season. All that and much more coming your way right now! Hey Trash Talkers, it's Mike here. Over 93% of you who view our show each and every day are not subscribed to the channel. If you could hit that red subscribe button, it would help us out tremendously, and it is completely free for you guys. If you want to stay up to date with our daily content, then click that bell icon and you will be notified every time we go live. Nick and I both really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and we can't wait to keep making more daily content for you. All right, Nick, the Minnesota Vikings are up next. We continue our series with the NFC North, and we have some interesting signings and additions as well as losses for this team. Let's just jump right into it. Starting off with the signings, we have cornerback Patrick Peterson, defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, and linebacker Nick Vigil. Which one of these is the number one priority, the number one addition that you think that they made this offseason?
To me, it's going to be Dalvin Tomlinson. The addition of Dalvin Tomlinson is great on its own, but then when you look at them getting Bernard Pierce back this season, the two of them together, these 300-plus pounders in the middle of the field with Danielle Hunter on the outside, it's going to be extremely tough for anybody to run on this team. They are going to be locking down this defensive line, and I think Dalvin Tomlinson is really going to be a really big addition for them this season. He's going to help this defense out a lot. I really like the addition of Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah, I think Dalvin Tomlinson is going to absolutely provide them with much needed stability in the middle of that defensive line. But I'm actually going to take Patrick Peterson. I think Patrick Peterson provides them with not only veteran leadership, but proven Pro Bowl experience veteran leadership. Patrick Peterson, coming off an amazing career with the Arizona Cardinals, he's going to be the lockdown corner for this defense. And not only that, he is going to mentor some of these young guys. He's going to be working with Cameron Dantzler, Mackenzie Alexander, Jeff Gladney. I mean, they have some really young, talented corners. They just need somebody to learn from, somebody that they can share information with, work with on a day-to-day basis. I think Patrick Peterson proves a lot, not just on the field, but in the classroom and in meeting rooms as well. I believe that he is the biggest offseason addition for this Minnesota Vikings defense. Now, taking a look at their losses, we have safety Anthony Harris, defensive end Ifeadi Odenigbo, left tackle Reiff, and tight end Kyle Rudolph. Nick, which one of these losses will make the biggest impact on the Vikings moving forward?
For me, it's definitely going to be Anthony Harris. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL, and him going to the Philadelphia Eagles was a surprise move, especially when you look at the contract he signed. It was very team-friendly, and something the Minnesota Vikings should have been able to offer Anthony Harris. I think that he's going to be a key piece missing from the secondary. It's going to be tough for Harrison Smith to keep the secondary locked up, the safeties position locked up by himself, and now he's got to work on new chemistry with a new safety by his side. I think Anthony Harris, to me, is going to be a big piece missing from this team this season.
Yeah, taking a look at the other losses that they had, I thought Reiff would have been on this list, but getting Christian Darrisaw in the draft definitely helped out this offensive line. They're going to be in a really good spot. I'm going to take Kyle Rudolph. I think Kyle Rudolph is a major loss because Irv Smith has shown that he can handle tight end 2 role. I'm not sure how he's going to do as the tight end number 1. When you run this 2 tight end system that they do in Minnesota, when you run the offense that they do, Kyle Rudolph was a pillar of stability for Kirk Cousins and this entire passing offense. He was always in the middle of the field. He had that chemistry. Now you bring in Irv Smith, and you have to wonder if that's going to continue. I believe Irv Smith has a better, stronger, and faster skill set. I also think that the relationship between Kyle Rudolph and Kirk Cousins is going to be heavily missed and cannot be understated for this team. All right, let's move over to the schedule where we take a look at their 2021 NFL record predictions. All right, taking a look at the schedule for the Minnesota Vikings, starting off with week 1, the Minnesota Vikings head on the road. They start their season on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow finally getting healthy, getting Jamar Chase, his very talented receiver from LSU, his counterpart. I do believe, however, the Vikings will be able to win this one with relative ease. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, this offense is going to pick up where they left off. Justin Jefferson coming off of his insane rookie campaign, rookie of the year campaign where he set the rookie receiving record. He's going to continue on that pace, and I believe that the Vikings offense is going to be just a little bit too much for this Bengals defense.
In week 2, the Vikings are again on the road, but this time they're in Arizona, and this isn't the Cincinnati Bengals. The Arizona Cardinals are really coming to play this season. They've got a ton of great weapons on the offense and defense. It's going to be a little too much for the Vikings to handle, and in week 2, the Cardinals get the better of Minnesota.
Then in week 3, the Vikings are finally back home, starting with their first game in Minnesota, and the Seahawks are coming to town. Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, you know the gambit. However, the Vikings will be able to stave off a Russell Wilson just absolute onslaught against this defense. I think that the Vikings are a much more sound, much more full team than the Seahawks, and at this point they are going to be able to run the ball, they're going to be able to pass the ball, and there's not a single shot that the Seattle Seahawks defense is going to be able to do anything against this vaunted Vikings offense.
Then week 4, the Cleveland Browns make their way to Minnesota, and the Cleveland Browns are a much improved team as well. What their offense is able to do with Odell Beckham Jr. back out there for them is going to be very interesting to see, and this defense is much stronger than we've seen them in the past. With the additions of John Johnson and Jadeveon Clowney, this defense is really going to be tough to score against, and the Browns should have a pretty easy time taking the Vikings in week 4.
Then in week 5, the Minnesota Vikings continue their home stretch where they are hosting their division rival, the first division game of the season, against the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions are in the middle of a rebuild. They got Jared Goff. He's still learning the system. You have Dan Campbell, who's motivating them left, right, and center. But at the end of the day, the Vikings are just a much more established, much more proven team. They have the continuity both on offense and defense. They're going to be able to handle this game in week 5. The Vikings will beat the Detroit Lions.
Then moving into week 6, the Minnesota Vikings make their way to Carolina to face Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers. This should be a very good matchup. The Panthers are a really interesting team this season. With the addition of Sam Darnold in Matt Rule's system and the weapons around him, it'll be interesting to see if Sam Darnold is the real deal or if what we saw in New York was as good as it gets. But for Minnesota, they're a team that has been consistent. Their offense knows how to work together. Justin Jefferson is only going to get better in year 2, and this Vikings defense will be able to hold off the Carolina Panthers offense. The Vikings will take week 6.
Going into their very early bye week at 4-2, the Minnesota Vikings come out of the bye week against the Dallas Cowboys, hosting Dallas in Minnesota. And it doesn't matter because the Dallas Cowboys will come out on top. When you're talking about this offense the Dallas Cowboys have, you have Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard on the ground. You have Amari Cooper. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have Michael Gallup through the air. Dak Prescott throwing the ball. A top 5 offensive line. There's not much this defense is going to be able to do against this offense. And on top of that, the Cowboys defense is going to be able to hold their own against the very top-heavy Vikings offense, but not really depth-wise will the Vikings be able to challenge them.
Then in week 8, the Minnesota Vikings make their way to Baltimore to face the Ravens. This should be a really good matchup too. As good as the Baltimore Ravens offense has gotten this offseason, this is going to be a really good test for Lamar Jackson. I think that it's going to be very tough to run on these two big defensive tackles, and Danielle Hunter coming off the edge should be a really nice addition. If Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks are there like we planned them to be, this is going to be tough for Lamar. I think that the Vikings could get the better of the Baltimore Ravens in week 9.
Absolutely. That'd be quite the upset, but also something that most fans actually understand, that the Vikings can compete with some of these top-end teams. But the Vikings go from Baltimore all the way to Los Angeles, cross-country road trip for the second week in a row, and the Minnesota Vikings will take on the Los Angeles Chargers, I believe at this point that they are going to be tired. They're going to want to go home, and the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be able to take advantage of a tired Vikings team. You have an incredible offense headed by Justin Herbert. You have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams readily available, Jared Cook at the tight end position. They're going to be just fine on offense. The defensive side of the ball, I think that they're going to be able to hold their own against the Vikings and look for this to be a high scoring game, but I do believe the Chargers will win in week 10.
Then in week 11, the Green Bay Packers make their way to Minnesota for the first time this season. And with the division rival matchup, this should be very good. Even if Jordan Love is under center, it's still going to be a very close matchup. The Minnesota Vikings, however, have a much better offense. They should be able to handle Jordan Love on the defensive side of the ball. Danielle Hunter should have a really nice day. I think the linebackers will really show out and make Jordan Love's day much harder, but the Minnesota Vikings will get the job done and win in week 11.
Sitting at 6-4, the Minnesota Vikings will then travel to San Francisco, take on the San Francisco 49ers. And I believe that the Vikings at this point are a much more established team than the 49ers are. I believe that the 49ers will continue to go through a quarterback change through the middle of the season. I believe this will be Trey Lance somewhere in this area, and I do not believe that the 49ers have the requisite depth to take on the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to be just a little too much for the 49ers at this point, and they're going to take advantage of the Niners moving forward.
Then in week 13, the Minnesota Vikings look to take advantage of newcomer Jared Goff with the Detroit Lions. And this should be a very nice matchup for the Vikings. Even though this is a divisional matchup, you're looking at a new head coach, a new coaching lineup overall, and then new weapons on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. It's a lot of change that both teams are going to have to get used to, but it's a lot more change for the Detroit Lions, and it's just going to be tough for them to keep up with. It's going to be tough for them to keep up with a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who have such great chemistry.
All right, and then in week 14, the Pittsburgh Steelers go to Minnesota, visit the Vikings, and I believe that the Vikings will continue their winning ways here. They are going to be able to run the ball down the throat of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw it last year. Big Ben cannot handle the arduous long season of the NFL, all the hits he's going to take. He's got a much weaker offensive line where I think the Vikings are going to be able to strike in on them early and often. And I just believe that the Vikings have the perfect scenario to take on the Steelers, especially at home. I think that this Thursday night game being on a short week, the Vikings will be able to handle their business against the Steelers.
Then in week 15, the Minnesota Vikings make their way to the Chicago Bears, where they will face them for the first time this season. And in their first matchup, this is most likely going to be Justin Fields territory, and that's a tough man to stop with the way he's able to move in and outside of the pocket, the way he's able to extend plays. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be a real challenge for Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks, and I think that the Chicago Bears will be able to edge this one out against the Minnesota Vikings.
Absolutely. So just a little bit of faltering here from the Vikings, but as we move into week 16, it does not get easier as the Los Angeles Rams come into town, and you have Aaron Donald, you have Jalen Ramsey. This defense knows exactly what they're doing. I think they're going to be proving a lot against the Minnesota Vikings offense. And then on the other side of the ball, Matthew Stafford is going to light up this defense. I think the Rams have everything in their power to absolutely destroy this defense, and they're going to put on a spectacle on this Sunday. Either way, the Rams will be winning week 16.
Moving into week 17, the Minnesota Vikings make their way to Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers for the second time this season. In the first matchup, the Vikings got the better of the Packers, and it was the first time they got to see Jordan Love. The second time around, Jordan Love has learned a little bit, and he's showing that he can improve once he's seen a team for the first time. The Green Bay Packers will be able to get the better of the Vikings in week 17.
Then finally, in week 18, the Minnesota Vikings host the Chicago Bears for the second time in 4 weeks, and I believe that they are going to absolutely swarm Justin Fields. They saw what he had to do in the first game, but I think they are ready for him. You're going to see Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, all of these guys absolutely swarm Justin Fields. They're going to play hard press man-to-man defense, and they're going to make Justin Fields beat them with his arm on the run. They're going to flush him out of the pocket. I think this is going to be a true test for Justin Fields, but the Vikings are going to clamp down the division and win Week 18.
Yeah, that puts the Minnesota Vikings at a record of 10-7, which is very good when you look at the rest of the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers, as we have it, are the second closest team with a record of 7-10, and the Minnesota Vikings easily lock up the division. To me, the Minnesota Vikings are really the only team that can really contend with the rest of the NFC. And it's going to show early and often in this season just how good the Minnesota Vikings actually are.
All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.